will start Q&A with Tim Skubic.
Thank you. Governor, you're aware of the legislative process can be rather cumbersome at times. What are your fears now that you have to negotiate with the legislators on emergency action and doing it in a timely time frame?
Well, the legislature was designed to be a deliberative body, and that's always been one of the issues in the midst of a crisis, having one person with whom the buck stops and who can act nimbly when lives are on the line. The legislature has a lot of procedural rules and many members, and it works well when there's a lot of time for deliberation, but it's not the quickest body often when we have to act swiftly. And that's why I'm grateful that the Director of Health and Human Services has epidemic powers that he is using to keep people safe. It is, he's an important part of my administration and has been a part of every conversation and helped inform each decision that we've made. So we are aligned, and I'm very pleased with the action they're taking and would anticipate more. But when it comes to things like extending unemployment benefits, we have hundreds of thousands of people in this state who are dependent on unemployment in these times, needing to put food on the table for their families, and all of that is at risk. Legislature only has a handful of days on the calendar, most of which are not really intended to be for session. They're called non-voting days, so they're on the calendar so they can say they're in session, but they're not actually here. And that's my biggest concern, is I hope that they can get here, they can get to work, and they can get some of these bills, some of these executive orders that have been such a lifeline to so many people in our state, codified and sent to my desk so that people aren't left in the gap. And that's my biggest concern, Tim, if the legislature will come back and get to work and get these important measures on my desk so people don't have to go without in these horrible, tough, stressful times.
All right, Governor, the next question will come from Jim Kirchner with TV7 in Detroit.
Good afternoon, Governor. Talking about working with the legislature, the Health and Human Services orders run through October the 30th. First part of the question is, can they be extended beyond that if necessary with another order from that department? And you said in your opening statement that you're not going to negotiate doing what's right for public safety. So what kind of headwinds are you expecting negotiating with Republicans in the legislature when it comes to masks and limits with public gatherings? Aren't those going to be the tough spots?
So we already know that there are a lot of anti-maskers in the legislature who also have come down with COVID, by the way, going to events where they are protesting masks, the saddest irony, and none of us takes joy in that. I want fewer people to get COVID, and that's what really has informed every decision that we've made. The Department of Health and Human Services, the director, Robert Gordon, has epidemic powers that he can and is using, and I would anticipate more orders even yet today perhaps or in the coming days. He can extend those, and I fully anticipate until we have some comfort that we've gotten our arms around this disease that they will be extended. The fact of the matter is COVID-19 is still very present in Michigan and across the country. Our own president has COVID-19 right now, as well as, I think the last count was 27 people who were at their SCOTUS event that they had in the Rose Garden. This is a disease that does not care who you are. It does not care what a court said. It does not care what the legislative schedule is. It does not care how tired we are of this disease. And that's why we cannot let our guard down now. They did that in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is now a national hotspot. And you can see what's happening in the Upper Peninsula. Some of it could be because of what's going on in Wisconsin. Other could be because people have dropped their guard. And this is what we are up against. Until there is a vaccine that is widely available and has efficacy and is safe, or until we have better therapeutics, we are going to have to continue to mask up. And that remains the law in Michigan right now through the director's epidemic orders. Those powers were not at issue in the Supreme Court. They are still standing, and they will be exercised so long as they need to be. So let's be smart, Michigan. We know what it takes to push our COVID numbers down. We've been successful in the past. But I can tell you right now, the numbers that we're seeing are concerning. And we are on the cusp of flu season, and we have more contacts than ever with so many parts of our economy re-engaged and in-person learning happening. And that's why we really have to take this seriously and not let our guard down now.
Okay, Governor, the next question will come from Eric Lloyd with TV 9 and 10.
Hello, Governor. I was curious with these these guidelines from MHHSS backfilling some of the executive orders. Where do we stand on your My Safe Start plan? On Friday, the Upper Peninsula is supposed to slide back to phase 4. Is that still happening? Is that still in effect?
Well, Eric, a lot of the work under the 1945 laws are not still standing. However, the fact of the matter is COVID is still a very real presence, and the Upper Peninsula numbers are very concerning. They're posting numbers that rival that of any we've seen in months in this state. And while there are some great health systems in the UP, they are not equipped to handle a major community spread outbreak. And that's why we have to take this seriously. So we can't get caught up in whether or not we're still in phase 4 or 5 in a particular region. The law of Michigan, by virtue of these epidemic orders, are that we have to mask up and that we can't congregate in large numbers. And I believe that there will be additional measures that the director will be taking in the coming hours and days. But the fact of the matter is, COVID is still a very real presence. It is a threat to the economic rebound that we've had. It is a threat to in-person education of our children. It is a threat to our lives, and none of us should take this for granted. If the most protected person in the country can get COVID-19, every one of us can get COVID-19. And this piece of cloth that I wear on my face is the best tool that we have right now to keep ourselves, our families, and one another safe.
Okay, we'll take a few more questions. So the next question will come from Zach Gorchild with Gongwer.
Hi, Governor. Thanks for doing this. I wanted to ask you, sort of staying with the mask theme, about Senate Majority Leader Shirkey's comments over the weekend where he immediately ruled out putting any type of a mask mandate into statute. Were you perturbed by that? Does it, to you, signal that it's going to be extremely difficult to try to work out a new legal framework with the legislature? And is your administration's ability to compel mask use now greatly limited? I mean, the order that Director Gordon issued yesterday seemed to cover only a small fraction regarding masks of what your previous executive orders did.
Well, I think it is concerning that the top Republican in Michigan government is an anti-masker and doesn't want to encourage and require everyone across the state to mask up within hours of his, the leader of his party, our president, getting admitted into Walter Reed for COVID-19. A mask remains the best tool we have to keep our businesses open. A mask remains the best tool we have to keep our kids in school. A mask remains the best tool we have to protect our lives and our livelihoods and our families. So I think that those comments show you a real disdain for science and ignorance of the epidemiology that we are up against. Experts agree. Our public health experts, every scientist who is studying this understands that this is crucial. And that's why I'm glad that our Director of Health and Human Services has epidemic orders that he is able to sign to keep us safe. And I think that as we move forward, where I have to negotiate with the legislature, I've always been interested in negotiating with the legislature if we can find some common ground. But I'm not going to hold back on doing what we know to be the right thing to protect people in this state.
Okay, the next question.
Any election law questions? Okay, Tiff, let's keep rolling.
All right, Governor, we'll go to Rick Albin next.
Governor, given that the Health and Human Services Department comes under the executive branch, do you think that the legislature is more or less likely to want to negotiate with you after the Supreme Court overturned the executive orders and they were almost immediately reinstated by another part of the executive branch?
I think it's really important that we talk about what the Supreme Court ruled. All right? In the text of their ruling, it says, my interpretations were reasonable. What they also concluded was that in 1945, the legislature made a huge mistake and should not have conferred and should not have passed that law. So everything I've done has been considered appropriate within the law that was on the books. Now, this question about what happened 75 years ago, I'm not going to get caught up on it. They have ruled, and we're going to continue to move forward. But my job as governor is to do everything that I can and utilize every power that I have to protect people. We've had an incredible amount of success here in Michigan. It's been hard. We've lost over 7,000 people to COVID-19. We know that there are a lot of businesses that are still struggling to get on track. But we also have one of the top 10 economic rebounds in the nation. We've pushed our COVID numbers down. And so while we know that there is a lot of concern right now because of where the numbers are and because of this ruling and the chaos that has ensued and the confusion that has been created, that likely our numbers could go up, and that's what we're going to do everything that we can do to keep that from happening.